another heat wave in the United States and Europe, and we're back talking about the climate change. I started studying climate change since 2015. I reached my conclusions. I have a plan, and in the next video I will share the plan line by line. But today I want to focus on just importance, what is going on in climate change and what we need to do. Why would you watch this video? If you care about the future of your kids or your young adult, already in 40-50 years there will be drastic change in climate, and potentially there will be wars for survival, for fresh water, for food, for best livable places on the planet. It will happen. If you're a person who don't care what's going to happen tomorrow, and it's your right, it's okay. It's okay, enjoy your life today. You have only one life. Nobody can tell you otherwise. But the problem is this, that activists and researchers and politicians, they scream, they demand changes, they want stop the industry, they want double tax you. They change an economy. It's crazy what they do in the name of the climate change, and they don't know what they're doing. They believe that they're doing right things, but you will be responsible for them. You will pay for what they believe. So you better listen and participate. So let's start it. Climate change has happened already in the beginning of 1900s. There is no conversation about climate changing or changes in climate. It's done. If you look at the charts, they all like carbon dioxide, the temperature, methane, sea levels. You can see all those charts broke out, started from the beginning of 1900s. That's it. Climate has changed. Now it has a different idea for the temperature, for everything else. Then what are we doing right now? If climate has changed, why should we just go home and forget about it? No, because what happens, it will affect our lives. And today we actually, potentially, we could do something about that. That's why we have to consider possibility of what we can do. Today there are two major camps on the climate change of the scientists. One camp is very little. It consists of the decorated scientists, physicists. They sell books, they sell you ideas, but they're small camp. They say that it's a climate cycle and everything will be fine. That's what happens in nature. They tell you that carbon dioxide is actually the food for the plants. They present you an evidence that there is actually cooling, global cooling instead of warming, and the evidence is that there is a sea ice in the Antarctic growing. And of course they say that like, look, the temperature on Earth was like a billion years or million years even higher than today. The carbon dioxide was in atmosphere, concentration of carbon dioxide was even higher million years as today. So everything will be fine. It's just a cycle. So first of all, these people are incompetent. They're crazy. It's not like it's okay if you're not a physicist and you say wherever you want to say. It's okay because you're expressing your ideas and nobody could stop you and should stop you if you express your idea. But if you study a subject, you study science, and you say this craziness, it's just incompetence. Number one, like food for the plants, like just to give you reasoning, like that kind of like feeling, a burger a day for a person, it could be a meal. Thousands burgers a day, it's not a meal. A person cannot get it. That's talking about carbon dioxide as a food for plants. It's just so much of carbon dioxide, plants cannot absorb that. Secondly, the ice, sea ice, has no relevance to the global cooling or warming. The sea ice will melt within the year. When it's summer, it melts. It's as thick as 1 meter thick. It's nothing. There is no growing of the glaciers in Antarctic or the ice on the continent. So this is like all pointless to discuss, but they sell you books, they give you this idea. And then the cycle. Yes, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was like a much higher concentration than now. The temperature a couple of billion years ago or million, there was even 6 degrees above the pre-industrial level in Celsius. Right now it's 1. But we didn't exist back then. The living situation for humans was different. We couldn't exist back then, potentially. So it's all bogus. I think I gave you a sense, like some idea that climate is changing, and it's a cycle. Everything is fine. It's not just a cycle. It was a breakout from the cycle. And the reason we care about that breaking from this cycle is it happens extremely fast. And if those physicists with this idea studied thermodynamics and the equilibrium and the irreversibility of the thermodynamic systems, they would understand that if the thermodynamic system changes in thermodynamic systems happened in our Earth, the climate on Earth is a thermodynamic system. If the thermodynamic system changes within the thermodynamic system happened very fast and drastic, the thermodynamic system cannot come back to that previous equilibrium. So at the beginning of the 1900s, the equilibrium level has been broken. And now the climate, the thermodynamic system on Earth is tending to a different level of equilibrium. And because of that, it's destroying everything on its way. And I will talk later about that. But the point is, it's not the cycles like when we're talking about cycles in climate, it's a measurable, it's a very little changes, different ways, so the system can come back to previous changes, previous levels. But when the changes happen drastically and fast, that thermodynamic system, the climate wouldn't come back to that previous level. Like I have a bigger video, like 2.5 hours, where I step by step explaining that. And recently, that video I recorded maybe a year and a half ago. But the point is that I'm presenting you a bigger picture. I just recently came across that article on the website about the oceans are losing the memories. What happens? Some scientists went to examine on the bottom of the oceans the nature, what's going on, and they came up with the idea, or their conclusion is that because of the drastic changes in the temperature on the bottom of the sea, of the ocean, if the ocean will come back to that previous temperature, there will be nothing to come back to, because the nature died on the bottom of the ocean. Everything what was alive dead, and there's nothing to come back to. And they called it as somehow the ocean losing its memory. But this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that if the changes in thermodynamic system happen fast and rapidly, it will not be able to come back to its previous level. It's just physics. But the scientists from that little part of the part of my research, they actually proven it by on the ocean side only. Okay, so we got the idea that it's not a natural cycle. It's broke, actually the nature broke its own natural cycle. And now it's trending to reach the 3 degrees of in Celsius in pre-industrial level at the end of the 21st century, which is completely dangerous. So the other camp of scientists, they say like, listen, yes, that's what happened. That there was a breakthrough of the temperature, and it's all happened because of the human impact. 100% sure it's 100% human impact. Thus, if we just stop the industry, stop the pollution, we reach the net zero at 2050, it will rescue everything. The trend will just be changed of the nature. Everything will be fine, or potentially curved to be handled, or somehow everything will be fine. Which is totally crazy, because number one, they think or determine how, I don't know, and you ask them, they can comment how they determine that humans started the climate change. Let's examine again the charts. Look, carbon dioxide chart, methane chart, the temperature chart, and the sea level chart, they all symmetrical. They all have changes at the same time at the beginning of 1900s. Humans couldn't orchestrate, couldn't organize that exactly timing on changes of everything. They couldn't coordinate that. You would expect that if it's first of all, how do you think humans change the climate change? You would say industrial revolution, and you will be right. But how industrial revolution changed the climate? And you go that because we produce so much carbon dioxide, it went to the atmosphere, it created the pressure, and it put the pressure on the nature and amplified the existing temperature, and amplified that changes in the climate. And you will be right. But from 1750 to 1910, there was a change in carbon dioxide, over the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, only 20 points. Because for thousands of years before 1750, it was only 280 parts per million as a concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. In 1910, when you can see the charts, when the the trend has been broken and everything start going up, the concentration only was 300 parts per million. So 20 points somehow per those scientists, 97% of the scientists of the world tell you that 20 points made such a difference in climate that it changed. It's warmed up the oceans. It warmed up so much, so it's somehow at the same time, it's another point, everything happened at the same time, which is crazy. The point is this: carbon dioxide is actually a part of greenhouse effect. Its input on the greenhouse effect is 26% contribution. So that 20 points of extra concentration of carbon dioxide is actually less than 2% contribution to the greenhouse effect. The main contributor to greenhouse effect is actually water vapor, 60%. And 20%, 26% of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is actually changing. It's not the exact number. So the nature wouldn't even understand that humans started some kind of like industrial revolution. So it's completely bogus, crazy. Why it's crazy, bogus, and dangerous? Because the scientists right now, the biggest scientists, because they represent the top scientists of the world in climate change, they tell you that we started the climate change. And I just proved you, I proved you that it couldn't be started. We couldn't orchestrate it. You would imagine, if you look at the charts again, we should generate so much carbon dioxide. The chart should show like spike of carbon dioxide gas in the atmosphere before the other things happen, before the temperature goes up, and before the sea level would be changed, the trend of the sea level. But no, everything happened at the same time, which means it's a nature. Something happened in the nature. There was an input of the energy that break through everything, break up like all the trend. But right now I just want to concentrate on the point that it wasn't human impact. It couldn't be. So 20 points or less than 2% on greenhouse effect, nature wouldn't feel it. Everything happened at the same time, like temperature rising, carbon dioxide is rising, and methane, everything symmetrical charts cannot be if it's a human impact. We couldn't orchestrate that. And lastly, if we didn't start it, how can we stop it if we just stop ourselves? We didn't start the trend. It goes by itself because it's a nature. Then you will say, but we are putting about 40 gigatons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every year, as of now. And yes, we will amplify that trend. We will make it even worse. But if we stop today, all the emissions, human and not human, natural, the trend will still be going on at the same level, at the same trend, at the same velocity. And it's not just my conclusion, it's the conclusion of the same scientist, top of the scientists from Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change as of 2013. On the page, I think 26, they say that if we stop the oil emissions from humans or not, everything will be going the same level. Why? In the same trend. Why? because the carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere. If it goes to atmosphere, it's a resident, it's there for hundreds of years. So if you stop today, it's enough carbon dioxide and everything it's already, the trend is going on from 1910. So if we stop putting carbon dioxide, the trend already developed. So it doesn't matter what we do, like on Earth, it will matter for 100, 200 years from now. So today stopping the industry will do nothing for the climate as of today. I hope I made the point. So what do we do? If some scientists say like it's a natural trend, we don't have to do anything. The other scientists say like that's a human impact, we have to just kill the industry, and but they contradict themselves, and everybody is contradicting. This is what happened. At the beginning of 1900s, something happened, and in my big video, long video, I'm explaining what it is because it's controversial, and I don't want to just bring the controversy in this video because it doesn't matter. It's natural. What happened was part of the nature, and it broke the trend of the climate. Now it's a different trend. It's a different velocity. If it's a different things what's going to happen. And what we can do is only one thing. We have to defend the ecosystems, because the problem is not now in the climate change, because it's happened. There's no, I'm talking about that because I'm trying to make a point. It happened. So what it did and does right now, it's destroying ecosystems because it tries to go to a different level of equilibrium, and it breaks everything on its way. The glaciers are melting, the forests are burning, there is a positive feedbacks of a water vapor going on the it just melting glaciers, the oceans are melting, the water vapor goes up in the atmosphere, and 60% of the greenhouse effect, it's amplified the warm and pressure on the climate, and it just cycle of positive feedback. So the only thing what we can try to do is actually to help the nature to sustain its devastation. From one side, we as humans, we destroy the nature. From the other side, the nature is destroying itself even at the faster pace. So we need to help the nature, hoping that it will catch up with itself and change its trend. Because, like, imagine if you're sick and you have a fever, but your sickness was something else, but you have also a fever. Anytime, like whenever you're sick, you're trying to put down the fever because it resists your body to fight your real sickness or illness. The same thing happens with the nature. It got itself in that warming up, the positive feedbacks. It just constantly warming itself up. It's in fever. The nature's in fever. We need somehow to break this positive feedbacks cycles. It's unprecedented also what I'm saying, but I don't see any other way. Because I could just like, if the scientists will tell me like, oh, we have like this idea, other idea, I can just tell you that any idea what's so like at this point I heard with the taking the carbon dioxide from the air and direct air capturing, different ideas, it's all it will not work. That's why I have a plan. And the plan, the main thing of this plan is that we need to help the nature to sustain its devastation. For example, if the glaciers are melting, we have to come up with the idea. We have to set up we have to pay the scientists and give them the order. Think about that. What can we do with the melting glaciers? How can we stop that? How can we a little bit to change the rate of the melting, and potentially it will help the glaciers to regain itself, to regrow, to grow up. There are companies they work in how to save polar ice in a North Pole. Again, it will be different video. It's different idea, but the point is, it's not just I'm talking about this. There are scientists who tell you also about this. But everybody is talking one thing only. We need a comprehensive plan, and this starts with the urgent care of helping the nature not to be destroyed by itself and by us. And this is the only way we can save the generations to come, and we can do it, and we actually can unite all the nations in this fight. We have to not just do, we have to make that each nation will be part of what we do, because it's easier to shut down the wars if everybody will be participating in a common fight, because everybody has to realize that the trend is dead, not dead, is deadly. And at the end of the 21st century, there will be crazy stuff. We didn't experience that temperature for 10-15 million years, and it would be devastation. And I think this is it. And if you agree with me, please follow me on Twitter and subscribe to this channel, because I'm alone in this fight right now. I gave you all the logics. I gave you some science. I explain you why the other mainstream scientists and small scientists are wrong. So you need to participate, and appreciate if you do, and hopefully other people will appreciate that everybody do at least what they can do. Thank you so much.